Hey, this is Jesse with createthis. We're going to do something a little bit different today. I'm going to review a solar power generator. I just went on vacation and went down to Tybee Island. It was a lot of fun. I was down there for about 4 days, and I used this while I was on my trip. I've had this for about a month now, and you might have seen it in some of my other videos. I use it to power all kinds of things around the house. Most notably, though, I think I showed it in I showed it in passing in the lawnmower, the robotic lawnmower video. In which case, I use it to power the perimeter wire because I don't have any external power sockets on the outside of my house, power outlets. So anyway, right now I've got this thing charging up via solar power, and that's a 40-watt solar panel. Monocrystalline, so that's the most efficient kind that is commercially available right now, and only 40 watts though. It's a pretty small panel, and it's a 25-year warranty panel, so those things last quite a long time, but they're kind of big though. I don't know, I don't have a tape measure with me, but I would say that's what, 2 feet by 1.5 feet, something like that. It's pretty big. It's kind of heavy. It's like 30 pounds. I didn't really enjoy lugging that down to the campsite in Georgia, but it wasn't unmanageable. Now, let's take a look at how this connects together here. Let's see. Prop this guy up just a little bit so we can take a look underneath. Okay. So if you've never seen a solar panel before up close, and many of you probably haven't, I hadn't before I bought this one, they have these waterproof connectors on the back because, water gets in everything and it rusts it. So waterproof connectors, and they use these special wires called PV cable. It stands for photovoltaic, and it's waterproof too, and it's usually it's fairly thick compared to like AC wiring that you would find in a house because it's DC, and DC wiring gets hotter at lower wattage. That's one of the advantages of AC. AC travels further with fewer losses over longer distances. So anyway, so you've got these solar PV cables, and they connect to this solar generator here. They call it a generator, it's really a battery, via these MC4 connectors. And I'll show a little bit more about these in a minute, but they're pretty cool. And then let's see, Goal Zero is who makes this solar generator. Let me see if I can brighten that up for you a little bit. Yep. Goal Zero makes this. And I bought this one on Amazon.com, and you guys can, I'm going to put an affiliate link down at the bottom, and you guys can click over to there and check these out, and I get a little kickback if you buy any of this equipment from them. And it's not a whole lot of money, but it's just something that I bought this with my own money. People aren't like giving this to me for product review. This is actually a unit that I own. And I enjoy doing these reviews, so it just helps me continue to be able to purchase new cool equipment and review it here on the channel. Oh, before I get a tripod, let me talk about this cable. So, like I said, it's got these MC4 connectors here, right? These are cool because they're waterproof, but then they connect to the Goal Zero via this proprietary cable. And I don't know what kind of a connector that is. You could probably make one if you were clever enough, but I bought this one from Goal Zero. And the one thing that I will say about this is when it arrived, it was wired backward. I actually got a multimeter, and I tested the positive and the negative wires coming off of the solar panel. And this little pigtail cable here was wired backwards. It was labeled plus on one end and negative on the other end, but when I attached it that way, it didn't work. So there's that. So I don't know if that's like a problem with you know, just Goal Zero's cable or what, but what I did is I actually replaced the ends, because I don't know if these MC4 cables, I don't know if there's like a you know, what do they call it, like a standard for like which connector should be positive and which one should be negative. There probably is. So if there is, they had it backward. So I bought some MC4 connectors and a crimping tool, and along with my PV cable for the solar panel. So I just snipped off the ends of this this little pigtail cable, and I rewired it so that positive was actually positive and negative was negative. So just a tip, you know, if you buy that cable, there's a good chance that it's going to be backward and you're going to want to rewire it, or, you know, just be aware. Maybe test the ends first. Be aware that positive is probably negative and negative is probably positive. All right, but anyway, none of this solar stuff comes with the Goal Zero, though, right? So what it does come with, show that right there. What it does come with is this AC adapter. So this plugs in via the same sort of cable, and it'll charge up your Goal Zero battery from regular AC wall power. And I used this for a while before I got the solar panel for the camping trip, and it works great. It charges, I found that it charges about 60 watts, you know, that when you're doing anything, and that seems to be fine. Maybe it'll go higher than that, I'm not sure, but seems to be fine. But, you know, what's the point in having a solar generator if you're not using solar, right? So I keep that around for a backup, but I don't really intend to use it too much. Okay, I've got my camera on a tripod now, and I've got it set up so that hopefully you can see the LCD screen. With this 40-watt panel, it's about noon today, and I'm in Tennessee, right near the Tennessee-Georgia border, and I'm only pulling in 15 watts, and it's a fairly, like the sun's not clouded at all right now. So what I've found with this 40-watt panel is that the most that I'm going to get out of it is about 16 to 17 watts. And that's with pretty much direct sunlight, with it angled just perfectly, you know, all of that. Now, if we get a multimeter out, actually, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, I've got a multimeter out, and I think you can see this pretty clearly. Actually, I've got the leads reversed. Here. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm just holding the ends of the multimeter up to this cable here. You can see that. And what I'm getting is 19.3 volts. Okay. So it's making 19.3 volts, and let's see how many amps it's making. Swap this out. And it's making 1.79 amps. So let me do a quick calculation here. 1.79 amps times 19.3 volts is 34.54 watts. So this solar panel is making 34.54 watts right now. However, as soon as we plug this thing in to the Goal Zero, you'll see that it ramps up a little bit. Okay, so it topped out at 18 watts. So the panel's making 34.5 watts. It's rated for 40 watts, but it's only capable of charging the Goal Zero to 18 watts. Now that's a function of the charge controller that's inside the Goal Zero. So the way this works is inside here is a car battery. It's called an AGM, which stands for Absorbed Glass Mat, AGM car battery. And that just means that instead of it being a regular lead acid battery where the battery is like liquid acid and water mixed together around the electrodes, instead of that, it's kind of in a gel. At least I think that's what it is. I think it's in a gel. Anyway, it basically means that the battery's sealed and it's not going to leak. It's not going to slosh around. You don't have to add water to it, things like that. Now, that's just the battery, right? And the battery's actually removable on the Goal Zero. You can change it out if it dies. However, when you plug something into it to charge it, the solar panel is going through what's called a charge controller. You have to have a charge controller when you're charging a battery from solar, in most cases, in like 99% of the cases. So the charge controller on this is probably the cheaper of the two charge controllers that are available for solar. There's one called PWM, and that's the cheaper one, and then there's one called MPPT, which stands for Maximum Power Point Tracking. So the PWM charge controller isn't as efficient, and so it can't deliver quite as much power to the battery to charge it. So I'm guessing, and I've checked the literature, and I don't see it listed anywhere which charge controller this particular model of the Goal Zero has. But I'm guessing it's PWM because it's getting a pretty poor efficiency. I mean, that's only slightly better than like 50% charging efficiency. So probably PWM. Now, this is a Yeti 400, okay? This is, it's like their mid-range model. I think they've got a larger one. It's like a Yeti 1250 or something. That one I've seen in the documentation has an MPPT charge controller, but it's also huge. You have to have like a cart to lug it around. This one only weighs about 30 pounds. I can carry it uncomfortably, but I can carry it. It's like lugging a cooler around the beach or something, you know? I can carry it with one arm. So yeah, so that's what you're getting into if you buy this. It's not going to have great charging efficiency, but it's got 400 watts of capacity, so that's pretty cool. At this rate, it's probably going to take me, I want to say that I've drained this thing down to somewhere in the 60% range, 60 or 50% discharged or charged, depending on whether you're a glass half full or empty kind of guy, girl, whatever. Anyway, so I would say at this point it's probably going to take me another 6 to 7 hours at this rate to charge this up. So that's not really what I want. I think probably if I'm going to use this thing with pure solar, I'm going to get twice the solar capacity that I need to charge it. So the Goal Zero Yeti 400 documentation says that it can take up to 120 watts of charging power. So I would probably buy at least one 100 watt panel instead of this 40 watt panel here, and use that. And I might even try using two 100 watt panels, because if it's going to drop the efficiency by 50%, you know, I'm probably only going to get 120 watts out of two panels anyway, if I'm lucky. Maybe less, maybe only 100 watts. So I'm not really sure how that works. I'm not sure if you can actually use two 100 watt panels with this and get a full 120 watt charge, or if the charge controller maxes out at the actual wattage of the panel, not the wattage that you see on the LCD when it's charging. So I would call Goal Zero before you do something like that, before you try it. But you know, it's an interesting baseline to look at from. Now, why don't we plug some stuff into this and see how much wattage we draw. All right, let's see what happens when we charge some regular household devices here. So first thing we're going to do is an iPhone 4S. This is my personal phone. I've got an old crappy iPhone. Plug it in. Now, you can't just plug it in, okay? If you just plug it in, it's not going to do anything. You've got to actually hit the button here to enable the power ports. So now you can see that it's drawing 4 watts to charge my iPhone 4S. And as long as my solar panel is giving more than 4 watts, this battery on the Goal Zero is going to charge. It's not going to discharge. So at this rate, I'm pulling in 18 watts from the solar panel, and I'm withdrawing 4 watts for the cell phone. So I'm actually charging 14 watts right now. Now it's 13 because it went down to 17 for the solar panel. So 13, 14 watts charge going into the battery, and my cell phone's charging at the same time. So that's really cool. All right, so enough of that. Let's try something else. What if you've got a GoPro? What does that look like? All right, so the GoPro is mostly charged. So it's only drawing 1 watt. Let's turn it on. This is a Hero 4 Black, and it is pulling 3 watts being on. Start recording. 2 to 3 watts. Okay, that's pretty awesome. So I've actually had one of these GoPros in a waterproof enclosure on a tripod out in the field for literally a week, and this battery wasn't even dented. It didn't even come down from like fully charged. I'm sure it was slightly discharged at the end of the week, but it's amazing. So you can do time lapse with GoPros for weeks at a time if you want to with this battery, which is really cool. All right, let's try something else. Let's take out the heavy hitters here. How about a Phantom 2 battery? So we'll just turn off the USB and we'll turn on the AC inverter. That's one of the nice things about this. It's got an AC inverter built in, so you don't have to worry about it. You know, you could build one of these yourself, sure, but you know, this does it for you. It's got everything built in. All right, so I wonder if this is an already charged battery. Yeah, this is an already charged battery. Let me get one that's discharged. Okay, so this is a discharged Phantom battery. I used this one on my vacation. Let's see how much wattage it draws. So charging a Phantom 2 battery, we're now pulling 63 watts. And so I know from experience that these batteries take, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half to charge, sometimes 2 hours. So it's going to pull 63 watts for 2 hours, roughly. With a 400 watt-hour battery, you know, the Goal Zero is a 400 watt-hour capacity battery. Watt-hour is actually a duplicate. Watts are an increment of hours. Anyway, so it's a 400 watt battery. You know, you could charge maybe 2 of those batteries off of that. Maybe, no, actually you could charge way more than 2. You could probably charge 3 or 4 off of that. So that works great. And if you've got solar charging up the battery as you're charging your Phantom battery, then you know, you just subtract it. So it's pulling in 63 watts to charge up the Phantom battery, and it's inputting 14 watts right now from the solar panel. So 63 minus 14 is 49 watts is the total draw. So at 49 watts, you could do, what is it, 4 times 2, 8. You could do 8 Phantom batteries before you drained the Goal Zero completely. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's try something even bigger. Okay, so I've upped the ante here a little bit. So now I've got a Western Digital MyBook external hard drive. I've got a MacBook Pro 13-inch laptop, and I've got a Hero 4 Black plugged into the MacBook. Now, I've got all of this plugged into the Goal Zero with an extension cord that has one of these dual, triple, you know, power extender things on it, okay? Now, what I'm going to do, I'm pulling 74 watts right now because the laptop is charging, and also the Western Digital is drawing power. So I'm going to try to max this out, okay? I'm going to download all the data from the GoPro, and we'll see what happens. So it's importing now, and my wattage is climbing. Only slightly, though. Yeah, it seems like seems like the laptop's only going to draw so much. So it's maxing out at about 75 watts. So I do a lot of video editing, and it's really nice, you know, when I go out in the field. I also do a lot of photo editing, so it's really nice when I go out in the field to be able to have my external hard drive and have something to plug it into, regardless of whether or not I have an actual electrical outlet with me. So I did this when I was down in Tybee Island, and I edited, what was it? Some pretty high-res photos, like 33.6 megapixels, and I edited a couple of batches of them. I do a lot of composites, so I edited like batches of 10 photos, and I combined them using focus stacking, which is pretty processor intensive. And I want to say I got 4 sets of those edited before the battery got down below 60%. So it's pretty good. You know, I wish I could charge it up a little faster with a 40-watt solar panel. I don't really love that it only gives me 15 watts out of my 40. But as far as portable power goes, it's pretty sweet. And the solar panel issue, I mean, you can always throw larger solar panels at it if you want. So again, I'm going to have links for Amazon for all of this gear for those of you that are curious. And if you want to buy any of this stuff, please do bookmark this video, come back to this video, click the link, click the affiliate link, and that way I get a small percentage. It doesn't cost you anything more. It just gives me a small percentage of the purchase price because I brought you, the customer, to Amazon and introduced you to the product and, you know, convinced you to buy it. So anyway, this is Jesse with Create This. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.